From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Colorado has ambitious goals around renewable energy. Governor Jared Polis wants 100% of the energy in the state to come from renewable sources by the year 2040. But there's an obstacle. Colorado doesn't have enough power lines to deliver all that renewable energy. A new study found that the state needs at least $4.5 billion in transmission investment over the next decade or two just to keep up with demand. Which is why clean energy advocates and Governor Polis are intrigued by an unusual business plan from a company called SunTrain. It involves loading up trains with massive batteries filled with solar or wind energy. The trains would haul batteries from solar farms and wind farms in rural areas to cities and towns that need the electricity. Christopher Smith is president and chief technical officer of SunTrain, and Jeff Anderson is SunTrain's CEO. They've been working with Xcel Energy to pilot their idea. They joined me to talk about how it could change Colorado's energy landscape. Chris said the idea for SunTrain actually came from something he saw a few years back as he was exploring the landscape in Alaska.
We happened across a vista where we could see a large train moving from Fairbanks to Anchorage. Mm-hmm. And when we were looking at this train, we were kind of surprised by how many energy products are on it. We saw coal, oil, natural gas, what we believed. And then during a particular section of the train that was carrying shipping containers, I incorrectly identified them as batteries because coming from my background in the energy development space and the electrification and all that, a 20 or 40 foot shipping container in my world is a battery. Turns out that's not what was on that train, but that's what inspired the aha moment was, wow, you could put batteries on trains because every other form of energy within reason already moves over the freight railroad network, right? And batteries could as well. So that's where it came from.
And so then how did you start to think about this solar train as a practical idea for more renewable energy?
Really where everything had to start was how sprawling our existing freight railroad network in the United States actually already is. Contrary to popular belief, our railroad network is sprawling and is one of the best in the world. And there's over 140,000 miles of active rail lines now. And it moves virtually every form of energy that we already use in great amounts: natural gas, coal, oil, ethanol, shales, biomass, even spent nuclear waste. So the idea was, why can't we run raw electricity as a commodity over that network just like we move everything else?
Jeff, could you expand on that a little bit? What's the advantage of using giant batteries and rail lines to deliver energy rather than power lines?
Well, I think let's go back to your introduction. The $4.5 billion the state says they need to spend on a new transmission capacity. It's not just a question of investment. The challenge is it takes on average 10 to 20 years to build a single new transmission line. The wait to connect to transmission with capacity is so long that potential projects fall apart. They can't retain their financing. Wow. And so the benefit of SunTrain is we don't have to build a transmission line. We don't have to go across 32 different jurisdictions and 5,000 pieces of private property, all of which need to approve a new power line in order for it to be constructed. We run on the existing Class 1 freight lines that are already there and have spare capacity, and are going to have more capacity as coal trains disappear. So we can do this an order of magnitude faster, as quick as 2 years, as opposed to 20 years to build a transmission line.
And what does one of these battery cars look like, Chris? Would I be able to tell I'm not just looking at an ordinary freight car?
Our Generation 1 rail car, which is designed to get us to market quickly, you wouldn't really be able to see it as anything different from any other freight train out there. We're using 20-foot shipping containerized batteries. And the reason 20-foot shipping containers make a lot of sense is because they're readily available. They can be moved easily on truck, on ship, on train, obviously.
So they're really similar to the kinds of shipping containers we already see on trains.
Yep. If you were looking closely, there will probably be some markings and logos and a Class 9 hazmat sticker, and maybe we'll put some cool lightning bolts on it. But otherwise, this is going to look like a 20-foot shipping container that you've seen on any other rail car.
Sure. Go big. Brand that logo on there. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around what this looks like with giant batteries, essentially the size of train cars. Chris, how much power can one of these SunTrains carry on a trip?
So we've been very careful to not ask the railroads to innovate at all. And the reason for that is they've been around, 200, 300 years and not very much has changed.
Right.
The amount of energy that we can haul is based around how long they let us make our train lengths. And since we wanted to be doing what the railroads are already doing, we mirror coal trains, which means our trains are anywhere from 8,000 to 9,000 feet long. With an 8,000 to 9,000 foot train, we can get nearly 2 gigawatt hours of energy on a single train.
How much is that in terms of powering homes?
So generally speaking, about 1 gigawatt hour of energy can power a city of about 100,000 for an entire day.
Wow.
So if we had 2 gigawatts, that's a city of 200,000 maybe for a day, or a city of 100,000 for 2 days. So it's a very meaningful amount of energy. But generally speaking, our trains are designed to charge in 4 hours and similarly discharge in 4 hours as well.
The train itself would be powered by diesel, at least at first. Chris, are there plans to have the trains run on clean energy?
Yeah, battery electric locomotives exist. There's a number of companies nationwide as well as globally that are manufacturing pretty advanced battery electric locomotives. The problem is getting the Class 1 railroads to actually adopt those is a whole nother story, because their entire business model right now is designed around diesel locomotives. Asking them to transition to battery electric locomotives is a big jump. So we're not quite there yet, though there is significant interest in this because the locations that we're looking to move between in Colorado are very flat. So that's appealing for battery electric locomotives.
I want to talk a little bit about the current political landscape. The Trump administration has made it pretty clear that renewables are not a priority in their energy policies. Jeff, I am curious how the current political situation might affect how quickly SunTrain can ramp up.
There are definitely political headwinds that are impairing our ability to move forward, but they're not stopping us. We also have things at our back pushing us forward. One, as you said in your introduction, the state of Colorado has spent $4.5 billion on new transmission just to keep up with existing demand. States still have low carbon energy production goals. Utilities have their own goals. Companies have their own goals. Even if it wasn't about climate change, there would still be a need for SunTrains to move power from new generation sites to new load centers because the economy is changing, and just where energy was being used before or where it was being generated before, that's not how it's going to be in the future. It's not how it is now.
Jeff Anderson and Christopher Smith are with SunTrain. The company is based in San Francisco. They're working to use batteries to transfer renewable energy by rail in Colorado. You'll find more information in our show notes and at KUNC.org. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening.